Hi there, wildlife lovers, and welcome to World of Wildlife, where we explore the incredible creatures and ecosystems that make our planet so special. I'm Sarah, and today we have an exciting journey into the world of sharks, shark nets, and drumlines. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that like button, comment below with any questions or wildlife stories, and don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. And while you're at it, check out my social media channels for more wildlife facts, updates, and behind the scenes content. All right, let's get stuck in. All right, well, that sort of leads me to introduce Bella. Now, the one reason I've chosen my backdrop today of Mooloolaba Beach is in case you guys, those of you that are not in Australia, and those of you that are not in our local area might not have heard that there's been a little bit of a viral video going around this week of a fisherman just off this beach here who was fishing in his boat and saw a great white, and the great white attacked his boat. We're not known for great whites here, so this is something just a little bit unusual. And it makes this a really, really good time to learn a little bit more about sharks, about their importance in our ecosystem, and how we're protecting humans, and whether we're doing a good job at that or not. So that's sort of my segue into Bella. Bella Graham's an animal ecologist, as I said, and she's now working in shark conservation and behavior research. So welcome, Bella. Thank you so much for coming to share all sorts of information with us. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Yes, I'm sure most of Australia would have seen that recent video of the white shark biting the tinny. I know that went absolutely everywhere on my feed, and I got tagged with it about a gazillion times. Yeah, that's very uncommon around here. We do get white sharks occasionally, but there's not really any film of it, and they're kind of just passing through. The water's far too warm up here. I'm just going to quickly share my screen and get this sorted. Okay, so today, like Sarah mentioned, I work in animal ecology realm. I also am a shark expert specialist. That's kind of how I finished my degree. So today I'll be talking about the Queensland Shark Control Program, especially looking at the shark nets and drumlines. Okay, so just before I begin, I'd like to give you a little bit of an intro on me. Like I mentioned, my name is Bella. I'm 23 years old and I live on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. I have just graduated university. I studied at the University of the Sunshine Coast and did a double degree in a Bachelor of Business, Tourism, Leisure and Events, and a Bachelor of Animal Ecology, specializing in shark research. Following my graduation in September, I was lucky enough to join an internship in South Africa, working with the Shark Research Unit. Here, our main goal was to identify and monitor great white shark behavior and movement in Mussel Bay. With this, we did lots of work on drone surveillance. We had elasma rank surveys doing like diving every day. We also used tag and recapture data, and we looked at the population in the area of the sharks. This was really, really cool work. I was only one of 3 people to get picked for that for this year, which was absolutely amazing. And I've only just come home. So jumping into the Queensland and New South Wales Shark Control Program, this program actually began in 1937 in New South Wales. So it's almost a century old. This program was later moved into Queensland waters in 1962, following a string of fatal shark attacks through Queensland. So just to give you a little bit of background on why it was initially established, was because New South Wales actually had a similar thing to in Europe with the Black Plague back in the late 1800s, where you could see that the entire generation of around New South Wales and Sydney was the human kind of like, everyone was not going so well. There was lots of disease, there was lots of health issues. And the government actually saw that people that were utilizing the beach, people that started swimming, people that started surfing, had more of a healthier way of living, and that they were stronger, and they were actually going to increase the race of Australians, which is absolutely wild. They then decided, the Queensland government had a big push for surf lifesavers, created surf life-saving clubs, and with the large amount of people that were now utilizing the ocean, there was also shark attacks. So there came the implementation of shark nets and baited drumlines. So both of these shark deterrents are still being used in Queensland and New South Wales waters almost a century on. But I will just note from here on, I'm going to be specifying in just Queensland, so just where we're from. So these deterrents are trying to target certain shark species. So these are normally looking at the larger and more predatory sharks. These include your tiger, your bull, the white, the Australian blacktip, the common blacktip, the dusky whaler, and the grey reef shark. So this list used to be at 13 target species, but the Queensland government decided last year just to limit it down to the 7, which is good. So I'm going to start with talking about shark nets. Shark nets in Queensland can range anywhere between 124 to 186 meters in length. They sit at the surface of the water and they go down for 6 meters. So these devices are anchored down to the bottom of the seafloor to keep them in place. And they're usually used to cover an entire stretch of coast, which is normally roughly around 1 to 2 kilometers in length. In this diagram, which has been supplied through Sea Shepherd, you can really see that despite what people think, the shark nets are not a barrier. So sharks can very easily go under them and they can go around them. So this first bit of information here has actually come directly from the Australian government DAF website. And it says that shark nets are designed to catch sharks that pass through the area. They do not create a barrier between water users and sharks, and they do not prevent sharks from entering into an area. In fact, we can see that recent data from the Humane Society International said that over 40% of sharks that were caught in the nets are those that were returning back out to sea from the shore. This data came from 2023. So we can really see that the shark nets are creating more of a false sense of security and they aren't doing what people necessarily think they are. The main issue that we have with this is just the amount of bycatch that are getting entangled with these nets. So again, this data was found from HSI in 2023. So we found last year a total of 722 marine animals were either killed or found dead in the nets and drumlines. So 614 of these animals were non-target species, and only 30% of those that were found were released alive. So when I'm talking about bycatch or non-target species moving on, I'm speaking about migrating whales, dolphins, turtles, seals, stingrays, dugongs, and other non-target shark species that we're not trying to catch. I will just put a little bit of a graphic warning. There's going to be some photos of nets in this next one. So this is just a few entanglements in Queensland alone. So up on the top left is a dugong that was found off of Noosa Beach. Below that is some bottlenose dolphins that were entangled in drumlines, again in Noosa last year. We have seals, the endangered leatherback turtles, rays, more dolphins, and also a whole lot of migrating humpback whales. We can see that the marine entanglements always increase during this season as the whales are going past. So yeah, the bycatch is really detrimental to our environment. Okay, moving along, the second deterrent that is being used in Queensland Shark Control Program is the use of baited drumlines. So a drumline is basically a big yellow buoy that sits on the surface that is attached with a large shark fishing hook. This shark fishing hook is baited with bait that will attract the target species. This entire device, like with the nets, is chained to the bottom of the seafloor so it doesn't move. So again, this information has come directly from the Queensland Government website, where it says that baited drumlines catch actively feeding sharks using baits attached to a shark fishing hook. The target shark species that are captured are then removed and euthanized, so they're killed. And non-target sharks or other animals are released alive whenever possible. So there's a few points that I want to kind of make note of here. The first is that any target shark is immediately killed. With this, any shark that is caught, whether it be protected or not, that is over 2 meters in length is also killed. Another main point is the targeting in on the non-target shark species being released wherever possible. So we've seen that in 2023, 958 sharks were caught specifically on drumlines. However, this number doesn't specify what species they were. We can see that the bycatch number, so we're talking whales, dolphins, turtles, rays, was at 138 species. But we're not including our protected sharks that we're trying to look after. So one of these is the grey nurse shark. So grey nurse sharks are listed as critically endangered by the IUCN. Recent data shows that the grey nurse sharks on the east coast of Australia in the last 10 years have declined by 90% in New South Wales waters and by 74% in Queensland waters. The Queensland government has actually specified that the decline in this population is because of commercial recreational fishing, as well as the meshing program that is on our coasts. Another one is also that the shark nets are really impacting the hammerheads as well. They're an incredibly fragile species that I've worked a lot with in South Africa, which is really devastating to see the impacts that it's having here, as well as, of course, our black-tip reef sharks. So we can see that the nets and drumlines are having detrimental effects on our marine environments and our protected species as well. Another point to mention here is we have seen that areas that were previously not so sharky beaches are now having more interactions, having more sightings. And this is because the animals that are getting caught in these nets, you have to picture they're splashing and they're thrashing on the top of the water, creating commotion and attracting these larger sharks to come in and basically ringing the dinner bell for them. The drumlines and shark nets are located 500 meters from the beach. So we're seeing that these larger sharks are coming in closer to shore because of this device. Another quick point while we're here is that it has been seen that the predatory, older and wiser sharks that we're trying to catch have actually learnt not to be taking the bait off of drumlines. So it's leaving it to the younger species, the younger, more juvenile sharks that haven't quite identified what is a target species and what is a prey item, and drawing them in closer to shores. So the impacts of this, this is something we'll have to see over the next little bits, but ideally these nets and these drumlines are creating a false sense of security, and they're actually drawing sharks closer into the water. Okay, so just to give you a few stats here, since the introduction of the Queensland Shark Control Program, we've seen there's been 80,000 entanglements in Queensland. That is a crazy number. In Sunshine Coast alone, this year in 2024 so far, we've had 917 entanglements. With the most recent was just a few days ago in Rainbow Beach with another humpback whale being caught in the nets. We've seen that these deterrents are extremely ineffective method for promoting public safety, and data has actually proven to us now that they don't make any impact on the safety of beachgoers, yet they have this negative detrimental effect to our marine life. So I know actually in here, it's only Sarah and I that are from Sunshine Coast. So this probably won't be that relevant to a lot of people, but just have a visual of it. This is the Sunshine Coast in maps that have come straight off of the DAF website. The red dots are drumlines and the yellow are shark nets. So on the left side of the screen, you can see Sunshine Coast North, ranging from the top at Noosa going down to Point Cartwright. On the right side of the screen, you've got from Point Cartwright down to Kings Beach. In the Sunshine Coast, there's 11 shark nets and there is 78 drumlines. So a lot of our beaches are being baited to try and attract these sharks. We can see that Queensland and New South Wales are the only states left in Australia still utilising these methods. I know the left of the screen is a little bit busy, but I want you to pay attention to the green and the pink icons. These are where they're using the drumlines and shark nets in New South Wales. And on the right side of the screen is the rest of Queensland. So you can see that the Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast has the most amount of nets, and the Sunshine Coast and Rockhampton the most amount of drumlines. So Australia is really lacking behind. We're only one of 3 countries that still utilise these programs, along with South Africa and Reunion Islands. We can see that around the world, other countries have utilised and adopt other alternative methods that work just as well. So the ones that I'll be talking about today include drone surveillance, the Eco Shark Safe Barrier, the Shark Shield, and the Shark Safe Barrier. So just before I begin on these alternatives, I do want to note that it is unrealistic to just use one thing. We can't expect one device to have 100% efficiency rates. We need to be introducing lots of different methods that are now available to us. Okay. So first, I'll start off with drone surveillance. So the use of drones has already been seen around the globe, but as well as in Western Australia. In WA, we've seen that lifeguards have proven this to be highly effective in spotting sharks. Drone surveillance provides lifeguards with real-time footage. They're actually using this new AI technology to identify the actual species of shark. It can observe the shark's behavior and then determine the level of risk that that shark is portraying. These drones can also survey a larger stretch of coastline and have also been seen not just for sharks, but to survey other people that are, say, drowning just outside of the flags. They've been used to be really efficient in spotting safety measures. Drone surveillance is currently being trialled in Queensland and in New South Wales. It's just waiting to get the final tick that it's actually effective in these waters. The next one is another Western Australia owned barrier. So this is called the eco shark barrier. So unlike the traditional shark nets, the eco shark barrier is completely encloses the beach. So it goes from the surface of the water all the way down to the sand. It does a full barrier around the beach wherever it is put in. And instead of it being made from that mesh-like net material that the shark nets are now, it's made from this flexible rubber material. So any animal that goes into it, bumps into it, will bump straight back off. It's not going to have any entanglement. You can see on the right side of the screen that the rubber holes are actually quite large. So it's also not interfering with the rest of marine life. Fish can still get through. It's not stopping corals. This method has also been seen to be 100% effective in stopping sharks because they simply can't get through. The only thing with this method is that it is very particular on where it can be placed. So bringing it into Queensland waters, it can work in certain beaches like Noosa. However, there has to be lots of trialing before this can be put in. The next option is the shark shields. So this is one of my favorites. This is already being used at local tourism operator Sunreef, and also being used around the world. So this is a personal electronic shark band. Basically, for this to make sense, I'll give you a little bit of shark anatomy for you. So as you can see on the top right of the screen, sharks have a thing called ampullae of Lorenzini, which is basically their sixth sense. They have jelly-filled pores along their snouts that can feel the electronic pulse of the ocean. It can feel they can determine their prey items, they can determine the filling of the water. So when someone has this electronic band on, it is actually putting out an electronic pulse around the user, which has been seen to be highly effective in deterring sharks. The way that we were explained to it is it's like if someone was to put your full beam lights onto you, you would automatically look away. It's the same concept with the sharks. So this device can be slotted into a surfboard. It won't reduce drag. It can be put in by the fins. You can also put it on the top of a scuba tank, on your fins, and it can be worn by pretty much any ocean user. This shark shield has been tested for the past 20 years in Western Australia and has been seen to be widely effective. The last option that I'll be speaking about today is the shark safe barrier. I really like this one too because it's a South African design that I got to work with while I was over there. So how this works is it is a large pipes that are basically being anchored to the seafloor. They're magnetic, so it utilizes that same electronic field as what I just previously touched on. And they're anchored to replicate a dense kelp forest. So this particular method in South Africa is trying to deter great white sharks. So with the white sharks, they won't go anywhere near a kelp forest. So with this, combining that visual effect along with the magnetic fields of the pipes, it's been seen to create an invisible boundary line for the sharks. This device has been placed in between where surfers are to the outer section of the ocean, and it's been seen to be widely effective. This design is the first eco-friendly and effective alternative to be seen in South Africa, and it's been trialed for the past 10 years and has been seen to really work. So, as we can see, these are just a handful of alternatives that could be used. Like I mentioned, it's unrealistic to just use one. We should be combining several of these methods to create a high level of safety for our beachgoers and for our beautiful marine life that really need our help. We have better alternatives. So, again, I know not a lot of people are in Queensland, but I thought I would put this out there. If you do happen to find yourself on the Sunshine Coast, the Nets Out Now team are putting on a peaceful protest this Sunday coming, the 15th, at Mooloolaba Main Beach. We've been extremely supported by all of our local government parties, all of the big marine organizations on the coast. It's going to be more of the ideal aim is to create awareness and education in our general public that simply don't know the detrimental effects that these programs are having on our environments. I wanted to put this in there as my final slide. Just if you did want to get in touch with any marine-based questions, I have my own company called Bella Blue Diving, which is where I put all of my marine updates and information. And if you did want to get in touch, either via LinkedIn or email.